Memos are a common method of communication in many industries. They are short, simple, and straightforward. Technical memos are used more in engineering settings. For example, if you want to report to your supervisor in a simple and straightforward way the results of a test or experiment, you will do it in a technical memo. If you require more details, you will do it in something more similar to like a lab report. Let's look at the sections of a memo. On the very top, we have the title memo. Next, we have the date it will be turned in, the name of your instructor or boss, the sender, in this case you, and an appropriate subject. You can write the title of an experiment or something that clearly conveys a message in the subject part. Moving down, we have the objective and procedures. This will be about a paragraph where you describe what was the objective and the experiment or test you made, and you will describe the steps you took to perform it. You do not have to write every single step as it comes from the manual, but also do not be too vague to the point that your supervisor does not know how you were able to get such results. Be brief but descriptive of the most important steps. Do not forget to mention the materials, machines, or equipment used to perform this experiment. We will see an example about it in a bit. Next section is data and results. Here you will add the most important data and results from your experiments. Not all data should be reported in a memo, so think about which data will convey the best your information. We continue now with the discussion section. Here you are describing what happened in the experiment and you mention what those results were. Write about what the results look like, your graph, and what observations you have from the experiment. Mention some of those numbers, names, etc. from your data. Finally, the conclusion. Memos answer a particular question. Whatever your objective was, here is where you write it if the objective was met or not, and the reason why the results turn out that way. You briefly connect a bit of theory to the conclusion. An important note is that memos should only be 1 page in length. If you need more space, try making the font no smaller than 10 and making the margins thinner. Let's look at an example of a memo to see what a good memo would look like. Let's start looking at this example of a memo. So first we start with the date. You can see the date is clearly labeled month, day, year. We have who are we sending this memo to. In this case, if it's your professor, make sure you write their full name and their position, their degree, whatever position your supervisor might have. In this case, this example is to me, so I have a master's. If you are the person sending this memo, make sure you also write your full name and your position or your degree. In this case, you will write bachelor's. And on the subject line, you can see we have a clear line, a clear subject that's basically telling what is this memo about. In this case, it's about the quality assurance testing of heat 2595, which is the names of the different samples that we're testing for this experiment. Moving down to the objective and procedures, we can see a clear paragraph that's basically stating what was the objective for doing this experiment, why are we doing this testing, and then we are listing what are the steps that we took in order for us to get our data. I can give you a couple seconds, you can pause the video and read it on your own, or you can also find it in the manual. But you will see that these steps are descriptive. They are mentioning what machines we use, and for example, the mills, some of the testings that we did at different rates, and also the ASTM standards that we use for this experiment. Let's look now at the data and results. So here I'm showing a table that's showing the results of my experiments. I have different samples that I tested, and I found their yield strengths and their hardness. And after doing some calculations, I found the mean yield strength in KSI, the mean hardness in HRV, and their corresponding standard deviations, which is something that you would like to do to test in your experiments to make sure that your results are pretty close to each other and you get accurate data. Moving down, we have now my graph. So here you want to make sure that you add a graph every single time for your memos. You will have plenty of information, but make sure that you talk about the information that is most important or information that conveys your results and your conclusion the best. In this case, I'm starting first with the yield strength if that's what I want to show, and you can see that I have clearly labeled headings, labels on the Y and X axis, maybe a legend, and every bar it's color and it has its own title. Or if I want to do it with the mean hardness, I can also do that. Or I can show both of them together like you're seeing on the screen, and then I'm talking about all the data at the same time. Sometimes when you have a graph, it is enough information, it is easier for that person to read it than just having them read every table, every column, every row, which might take them a little bit more time. So sometimes it's best to just show a graph if you lack space, but if you're able to have both, you could add both, but just make sure that you want to show whatever works best at conveying your conclusion. So make sure you do not have extra stuff that are not going to add a little bit more of information to help you out. Continuing in the memo, we have the discussion now. And as explained before, here we are seeing a paragraph where we are just describing what were the results of our test. For this case, we can see that the sample that was different from the other ones by statistical margin was sample 25, 95, 22, which is the last one that was tested. And it shows a lower mean hardness and a lower mean yield strength compared to the other results. So here we're not explaining what was the reason, but we're just explaining, or we're just stating some of the results that we got from our previous graphs. The next part is the conclusion. And you can see here from this paragraph that we are writing what is the explanation for whatever happened in our experiment. Whatever we stated in the discussion, we're explaining here in the conclusion what was the reason that happened. You know, that's what you want to do. You want to connect it back to the theory, just like we explained. After you write your conclusion, you want to close your memo. So just like in an email, you want to have a closing statement. In this case, since you are communicating to your supervisor the results in a short way, and perhaps they would like to know more details about it, you will finish by saying something along the line of, should you require further information, please contact me, add your information, and so on. So even though you're writing these memos for class, try to do them as if you were a full-time employee already. So try to be as professional as possible. I hope that this video has helped you understand how to properly write technical memos. And if you need more help, feel free to reach out and I can point you in the right direction for the best writing resources and help. That's it for this video. Until next time, good luck.